At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
You know, Andy Reid being able to sit Mahomes for a year before he threw him in there. Packers have done it with 3 straight quarterbacks. It's really tough to do in today's world. I'm off on a tangent here because usually you got to draft a quarterback. If your team's not good, you're usually not good because you don't have a quarterback. So you put the quarterback in there and then he gets beat up. And the thing that brought it up, I'm totally on a tangent.
Yeah, that was a question about Xavier Wampa, but that's what you get on Tuesdays.
What?
Kirk Curran sometimes, a little bit of everything. He was trying to prove a point that sometimes guys get thrown in the fray a little early and they got to learn and take some lumps, and sometimes they end up being Conference Defensive Player of the Week. That is what Xavier Wampa has been getting a lot of praise the last couple days after 10 tackles, a pick, and a forced fumble in that win against Penn State. And the emotions match the moment there as we turn to the battle for the Floyd of Rosedale this week. Welcome to our Wednesday edition of Eye on the Hawks. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here in the DePaco studio. Broadcast Park Director Erica holding things down here on this Wednesday. Thanks to DePaco and Pin Seekers for sponsoring the pod. We'll hear a little bit more about what the Gophers are bringing to the table. Have the exact same record as the Hawkeyes, 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Haven't won on the road. Haven't lost at home. So we see what gives for the Gophers here as we get into the middle of the Big Ten schedule. We'll also have our Hawkeye highlight with a guy that we've highlighted quite a bit. Well, we got a lot of time with Caden Weegan on Tuesday. Owen picked his brain about Cooper DeJean's impact on him, and we also found out that this might have been the first time that he's had a late go-ahead score in his entire football career. So we'll hear from Caden as well. But we'll tee things off courtesy of Pin Seekers with a big comparison, and we'll hear from Mark Gronowski after his big day and a little more from Kirk Ferentz and Logan Jones as well. But I was figuring out its identity here in 2025, and yes, it has a lot to do with the run game as it did in 2024, but certainly a big name coming to mind when Iowa talks about what it is in this season, thanks to that South Dakota State transfer.
It gives us a lot of confidence knowing that we can come back from deficits like that. Gives a lot of confidence in our defense to know that our offense has their back, and if they're not having a great day or having a bad couple of series, that we'll be able to have their back and have their back like that. And in the past year, games like that haven't been able to been won, but to do that on Saturday was a big win for us and a big step in the right direction for this offense and for the season.
And now you go through the season and watch what he's done. It's just been really impressive, and it's to my knowledge, we haven't had a quarterback like him since I've been here, and I don't think we coached with one in the 80s either. Kind of like him. He's a little bit unique that way, and but he's got just so many good attributes that good players typically have, and so it's been great. And he's just blended in so well with everybody here. So we're really glad he's with us, obviously.
And anytime you face adversity, you get punched in the mouth, and we were tasting blood a little bit, down 11 points. Going in the third quarter, right? It's tough, but who are you going to be? Those are the games you live for right there. Are you going to come back, or are you going to shy away from the challenge? And we put things together, came out with the win when all odds were stacked against us, and that's awesome. Those are the ones you want. I'd rather win a game like that than win a game 37-0 or something like that. You know what I mean? It just makes it so much more worth it.
I was with Mark Rippon for a year in Cleveland. I was at the latter part of his career, so his best parts physically weren't there. Not that he was a running quarterback like Mark is, but some similar personality attributes where the guy's older than, and Rippon was older at that time. He was a veteran guy, had a lot of success, but there was something about his confidence, but it was just understated in some ways, yet really strong, if that makes any sense. And I think Mark kind of leads with that kind of style. There's just he's very grounded, yet he's very, he commands respect. He just commands attention and respect by the way he does things.
And so the question we put up on screen now seems like a bold one, but Tim Lester drew this comparison in terms of Mark's running style during the bye week, and we'll hear from Lester and the coordinators again next week. Is Mark Gronowski Iowa's Tim Tebow? I didn't realize how close they are in terms of just physicality. Tebow's 6'3", 235. Mark's 6'2", 235. They are built very much the same. But Tebow, anybody who watched those Florida teams back in the day, had all the weapons in the world in David Nelson and Percy Harvin and Hernandez and all sorts of athletes there. But there was always a belief when Tim Tebow took the field, those Gators had a chance. It feels like that is what Gronowski has now turned into. And again, maybe we're being prisoners of the moment with Penn State, but boy, just when 11's out there, there's a belief. It's like in Dark Knight Rises when Alfred and Bruce are watching the security cam video of Bane.
Dork.
His speed, his ferocity. I see the power of belief. That's a terrible Michael Caine. I didn't even try to do one, but it feels like that. When 11 walks out there, guys go, we can win this game. Do you guys get that sense too?
Listen, coming from a Broncos fan who...
let's talk about Tim Tebow, yeah.
That was one of the wildest years of football I've watched in my entire life, that Broncos season where it was like they were down in every fourth quarter. Saw a little bit of that this last weekend against the Giants, and Bo Nix brought him back into that game after being down, 19, 22, something like that. I feel like the overall athletic comparisons, maybe, I mean, obviously Mark's a guy who's pretty strong in his faith, as is Tim Tebow, and so maybe that's lending to the comparison a little bit. I'd like to see maybe a few more second half comebacks before I start making that comparison too heavily. But, it's not a bad comparison, but I would say we're a long ways from making that, having Mark as a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, I always hate these comparisons. Just when, Tim Tebow, one of the greatest quarterbacks, college quarterbacks, I should put. Sorry, Broncos
All
fans.
due respect. You want a playoff game against the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean,
Great.
size and rushing, I can see it, but he also threw for 30 touchdowns in 2 seasons and won 2 national titles at Florida.
Yeah.
And I know Mark's won 2 national titles, but at a lower level. So, I guess a little bit. But when you're comparing him to, that, I think it just opens people up to be like, look at his passing stats. These 8 quarterbacks in the Big Ten have passed for double his yardage right now. And obviously, we've talked so much about the passing game not being there and how the rushing game has, so let's focus on the bright spots. But when you just compare those passing numbers at quarterback, like that's where I'm like, and you're right, he did have a lot more weapons at Florida because it was a blue blood and they were competing for national titles those years. I always hate those comparisons, but, I see it from a size and a running perspective.
Is he a future NFL tight end?
We'll see. Yeah, it's more just the moment of the Tebow factor, and I think I'm leaning more into the Broncos comparison of just like
Sure.
That was a wild
I
season
thought
where it
of
was
Florida
just every time. Well, yeah, it's tough, but if there's a more modern comparison, the numbers are kind of close. Haynes King at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's undefeated. I think they're 7th in the nation right now. He's thrown for, I think, 1,100 yards, thrown for only 4 touchdowns. But he's rushed for 10. Him and Gronowski and Horvath from Navy, I believe, are tied for the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback, and they're up there in the top 3 nationally. It's an example of, and Georgia Tech doesn't run like the Paul Johnson wing tee stuff that like he used to when they played in the Orange Bowl against Norm Parker's defense, but the numbers are numbers, but if you're just having success, I mean, people swear Haynes King for a lot of folks is a dark horse.
I love Haynes King.
He's an awesome player. The only difference between him and Gronowski, if you just look at the stat sheet, is like 300 yards passing. But it's that belief. Haynes King has that belief there in Atlanta that when he's on the field, they have a chance. And there's something powerful about when you've got your dude at quarterback and those 10 other guys are in the huddle and say, we can do whatever, however it may come. That's a powerful, powerful thing, and it's why I feel like the fan base now feels, even with Oregon coming to town after the bye and having to go to USC, and it's tough for any Big Ten team to go out west and win against another Big Ten team that's now in the Big Ten, even though they're out west. There's a reason why people think, like, shoot, the odds are stacked, but we got a guy that maybe you can go run the table with.
And there's maybe just 2 things that are separating Mark Gronowski from being, again, not Tim Tebow, but maybe Haynes King, is if he has a fully healthy Reese Vanderzee from day one, and if Addison Estringa doesn't go down, you've got a full complement of some of your most talented offensive weapons out there for the whole season. Maybe you're undefeated right now if you're Iowa going into whatever week we're in, 9, 8, 7 games in. Then maybe Iowa's 7-0, and those 2 little injuries are the things that are keeping them from that point.
Margins are slim, too. Like, if Mark Gronowski's healthy, maybe they beat Indiana, and that's a major win. And, when you're looking at big picture stuff like Heisman's and in playoffs, if Iowa does win out, which is a tough task, they, I think they'd be favored to be in the playoff because they'd have a win against Oregon. Now, that's going to be really tough, and I don't know if I think that they can do it because Oregon looks pretty dang good right now.
Yeah.
But, like you said, 3 points against Iowa State, if you're undefeated, maybe people are talking about you like that, but the fact is you lost those 2 games, and it is what it is. But, yeah, I feel more confident at the quarterback position in Iowa than I have since Beathard. So that's one way to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's wild. That's 10 years. You understand. I guess I always understand like fan frustrations, but it's like, man, we haven't had a good quarterback in forever. You're like, it was CJ Beathard wasn't that long ago. And they're like, that was a decade. Yeah, okay, maybe.
And Stanley was good too, looking back. But every game that he played, I wasn't. Like, he'd have some amazing games like Ohio State, Iowa State his freshman year. But I'd be going in and I'm like, well, I always felt like there was going to be missed throws, a missed touchdown, an overthrow. I never had that confidence. And I guess with the throws, Mark has missed some this year, but I just feel confident that he can move the ball, whereas I haven't in the past.
He responds so well to it. He started rough on Saturday against Penn State. The pick, I'll say, wasn't his fault. He ended 9 of 10. And he wasn't, I think he threw for less than, 54 yards, 9 of 10. But he finished 9 of 10. Just completing those passes does a lot. You're not putting the ball in harm's way. You're not moving. They're not taking shots downfield. But, again, when you rip off a 30-some-yard run, a 67-yard run, Kamari Moulton, he's part of this identity too. Kamari Moulton, since he got back, and it's been all 4 Big Ten games, is averaging 5.6 yards a touch. He's averaging, I think, 105 yards between rushing and receiving. I mean, he's turned into a legitimate Big Ten back, and that's been really fun to see. I mean, the identity is the run game. It's just that Mark's kind of like your hero, so to speak. Like, he's your guy that you turn to. But with what Kamari's doing, with what the receivers can do in the blocking game, Caden, who we're going to hear from in a little bit, he's lining up at running back, which he hasn't played since high school, but feels right at home there. That identity is really starting to take shape in a different way than it did last year when it was just Caleb. And now it's like, okay, we've got a 235-pound quarterback that can run it. We've got Kamari who's morphing. Xavier has shown that he can do a little bit of stuff. If Jazz comes back against Minnesota, Jazz has a chance to really be a factor, along with TJ and Caden and whoever else they want to throw back there at running back.
Where did it change for you? I mean, I'm assuming you didn't have that same feeling about Mark Gronowski after the first 2 games of the year. When did it flip for you that you had this same feeling that he's I forget how you said it, either your favorite or whatever since CJ Beathard?
I just had the most confident I felt as a quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah. Going in as a fan, like, this guy can move the ball.
Okay.
The rewatch on the Iowa State game, maybe, but after Rutgers and then Indiana especially, it's like, okay, like, this quarterback isn't like the ones we had in the past few years where it's just like maybe the defense can get a defensive score, And when you talk about Gronowski being like, of course he's the stats and the superhero, the touchdowns. When you're talking identity, this Iowa offensive line might be the best in the Big Ten.
They're incredible. We just talked to George Barnett today on the Zoom call, and Tyler Tashman shared it on Twitter, X, if you want to go look at the bite. He just asked, like, what did it take to rebuild this offensive line? He's in his 5th year now, and just talked about, scaling things up and what it took. And now those guys that were taking their lumps in 21 and 22, those guys are Logan Jones, Bo Stevens, and Jennings Dunker, who are 3 of the best at their positions across the entire country. And, just being fortified and built from something that they had to struggle through. It's, if they get another Joe Moore award, and that award means the world to Kirk, it wouldn't shock me one bit, because you take those 3 and you add in Trevor Lauk, who it feels like every game is just getting better and better and better, and Cade Pieper, who has been more than holding his own. That's just a fantastic offensive line, and you're right, it starts with them.
If they're not the top in the Big Ten, they're like 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
And Trevor Lauk, like you just mentioned, the guy. You remember how many questions we had at left tackle?
When like 3 guys rotating through. Is it going to be Bryce George? Is it going to be Doetzler? Like what? And it's Trevor.
Like last week, your least experienced offensive line goes against Dennis. Denied. Man, I always butcher this guy's name. Denied Dennis Sutton.
Yeah.
And he's like an NFL.
And he denied him.
I know. He had 1 tackle combined with their other defensive end, and they're NFL talents, right? It's just really impressive what he's done at the left tackle spot. So wanted to give them credit.
I know you want that joke to land a little bit better, and I just want you to know that I acknowledge it.
One of these days we'll have a studio audience, or at least a laugh track. We won't do the burr, 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 burr horn. We'll have a laugh track, and, I'll feel better about myself. But, yeah, so there we go. Better late than never. Technology. So, yeah, maybe Iowa's identity is similar to what we've seen in the past, but maybe just a little bit different character to it, and that's been fun to watch.
And one of the other things when you're talking identity, I wrote down just they're the least penalized team in the nation and least amount of penalty yards. Just well coached. They're going to be their defense I think has gotten better like almost every game, So it's just what you expect out of an Iowa team, a Kirk Ferentz Iowa team. And you talk about all the offense, Tim Lester's coming in. Maybe the offense has evolved. Yeah. But that defense is where it starts, and the discipline and the run game is what you come to expect and you've come to see this year.
Yeah, and you talked about Addison Ostrenga. Kirk did confirm on Tuesday Ostrenga will be back using that red shirt and coming in for 26. So whether it's Hank Brown or Jeremy Heklinski or whoever it may be, you get 87 back, and that's a big, big boost. All right, thanks to Pin Seekers for sponsoring our Teen It Up segment. We turn to those Gophers that you talked about Iowa's defense and what it's doing. The Gopher defense looking just fine as well. We'll take a look, though. First of their schedule so far, 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Said it off the top of the show. They've won every game at home. They have lost their 2 road games that set back out west to Cal, and then doing what everybody does in Columbus, going there and trying your best. They got a field goal early, but they got a comeback win over Purdue recently. They looked great last Friday night, so they got an extra day of rest against Nebraska. The 9 sacks is what everybody's talking about. Rutgers, that was a back-and-forth, big emotional game for Fleck and Greg Schiano. And then your non-con wins there against Buffalo and Northwestern State. In Iowa, we don't talk about Northwestern State a whole lot. But we turn to a familiar face on the Minnesota defense as you look at the stats for the defense and offense. The offense, the rush, maybe not what you're used to seeing. Darius Taylor is still there, but Drake Lindsey leading a passing attack that's looked pretty good for the redshirt freshman out of Arkansas. Was State Player of the Year there. They were really excited when he came on board. Lemeki Brockington is still there. There's always a wide receiver for Minnesota that's been there for like 7 or 8 years. He continues to shine for them in a lot of spots. But that defense, top 20 in total defense, top 20 in rush defense, pass defense doing well on there too, with guys like Coy Parrish, who's kind of Minnesota's Cooper DeJean. You've got Kerry Brown, who's been there forever, and you have John Nestor, former Hawkeye, went north for his 2025 campaign. So needless to say, we asked the fellas about the ex-Doughboy coming back to town this weekend.
Fun seeing Nestor have some success up north, except for this week, hopefully not.
Yeah. Obviously, that was one of my guys when he was here. I wish him the best of luck, and he's done a great job this season, but we're coming for him this year. We're coming for him this week.
Nah, he had hit me a little while ago asking me about, I think it was like the Rutgers receivers or something. I got back to him a little late, but no, I haven't talked to him recently, but, love that guy, but, he's on the other side, and, I don't like him right now. So
Pretty much what you expect. They're a big physical team, playing well in all 3 areas right now. Offensively, big line, a lot of experience up there, and guys doing a good job. Big tight ends do a good job with them. Good receiver core. The running backs have been really good and continue to be good. Got a returner back. Obviously, he's a really good player. And then the wild card's been the quarterback position, playing a young guy who's done really an outstanding job. And you can just see him, like their whole team, getting better week to week. So he's playing with a lot of confidence. Had a really good game the other night.
There's going to be a lot of talk about what Iowa's defense can do against Minnesota's offense. But real quick, let's talk about what Minnesota or Iowa's offense is in for. 9 sacks. Dylan Raiola made some classic Raiolian plays, like some crazy, amazing plays. But, you watch it, a lot of those sacks, a lot of them are on third down, and Minnesota blitzes a lot on third down. Also, just sometimes it's like, I'm not sure if he just got ahead of himself and stepping out of his protection or what. It doesn't feel like I don't think Minnesota's going to have 18 sacks in 2 games after the Iowa game. But what side of the ball maybe worries you the most? Is it Minnesota on offense and what they can do with Drake Lindsey, or is it that defense, John Nestor and the secondary and a team that likes to blitz and Danny Collins is doing a heck of a job as DC there?
For me, it's definitely the defense. Just kind of going through some of the Big Ten standings with Minnesota, you don't even see them in the top half of the Big Ten in scoring offense, total offense, rushing, passing offense. They're not really much of a threat on offense. They do protect the ball well. They're tied for first in the Big Ten with with only, I think, 1 fumble loss this year, I believe.
+5 turnover margin. Yeah, they force turnovers. They don't give it up.
They handle the ball well. So for me, it's definitely the defense who ranks up. I mean, they're, I feel like, pretty well matched with Iowa's defense in terms of like some of the best in the Big Ten.
I would say I'm going to just go the opposite. I'll say the offense just to have a conversation. But
there you go.
So when you're talking about those sacks, they have, I think they're like top 10 right now in the nation, right?
Yeah,
or somewhere around.
When you have 9, that boosts your numbers. Yes.
Well, they had 16 in 2 games. They had 7 against Rutgers.
Yeah.
So like a big chunk of those, and like you're going up against. We just talked about the offense line at Iowa. I rarely doubt they're going to get that. Even come close to that many sacks this week. I think that when it comes to Raiola, I do think he holds the ball. I think Mark said it even. He holds the ball too long, and he's trying to make something happen. I thought he made some really nice throws, though.
He had some magician plays.
Yeah.
That were, like he
threw one with his left hand.
Left hand. There was one where it's again Mahomesian. He's not trying for this comparison, but like he's falling down and he hits a tight end. Like there are some crazy plays, but when you play off platform, you're either going to be an absolute superhero or you're going to. I mean, they had a play. It was one of the early sacks where like he's looking to his left. And I don't know if the receiver didn't know he had a route to run or if he got caught up by the DB, but there's nobody left. And that was like his first read, and there's nothing to read. You're just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what he was supposed to be doing, but just it sometimes feels like he's already thinking about like the third or fourth thing instead of the first thing. Because, I mean, when you're that crazy athletically talented, I'd probably have a lot of things going in my head, too, about what I could do.
Dangerous when you get to the NFL, if that's what you are, because then you turn into Will Levis, who just seems like every other play is trying to make something happen.
Will didn't know you'd take a stray in this. Yeah.
You know how he just loves Patrick Mahomes, obviously, too. Like, Mahomes had that issue, too, when I think Tyreek left. He struggled, like, getting that readout, that first readout, or dumping it off. And I think Raiola wants to make the highlight downfield throw, which he's good at, but it comes at the expense of taking a huge sack and then screwing up your drive.
Yeah. Which isn't what Mark Gronowski will probably do against Minnesota.
I think he's going to take off and run if he can.
This almost became a pre-Nebraska game.
I know, right? Podcast. So, one thing I'll say about the offense, though, is I think Drake Lindsey's better than I thought he was going to be,
really
and that's
good.
why
he's getting really good.
And that's why I'm going to say this. I think a lot of his throws, he's quick, he's decisive, and he has quick release and stuff like that. And Darius Taylor's really good too.
Yeah.
I mean, that first touchdown they had was like one of those Caleb Johnson runs. The first beginning of the Minnesota-Nebraska game reminded me of an Iowa game, where it's low scoring, and then boom, a 60-yard run sets you up for a touchdown. And that game was 7-6, well into the third quarter. Like, obviously Minnesota still won 24-6, but it was still close in that second half. So if it's going to be a low-scoring game like that, I think Iowa needs to limit the explosive plays, obviously. We can't have any of that. And do you just stack the box and try and take away the running game? And hopefully your corners who have really improved can step up against the receivers? Is that the game plan, do you think?
I think we didn't see as much blitzing as I thought we would Saturday against Grunkemeyer. And again, Ethan Grunkemeyer looked, I thought, really, really good for Penn State. And I'm interested to see how he does the rest of the year. Scrambling out, and maybe that's the reason why there wasn't a ton of blitzing, is because he is pretty fleet of foot. I don't think Lindsey's there. So I wonder if there is more blitzing, maybe not stacking the box necessarily.
Just send in the blitz?
Because, again, the stats are there. Darius Taylor ripped off a 70-plus yard run. Hasn't been doing a ton of that this year. I mean, they're only averaging, I think, 120 yards on the ground a game there in the back half of nationally in those rankings. So I think you play your normal defense, send some pressure, and your secondary has been trending upwards. Deshaun just had maybe the best game of his career. X is your conference defensive player of the week. Cohen just continues to grow and grow, and Lutmer does anything and everything. Hall is arguably top 5 corners in the conference right now. Just let them do their thing, send some pressure. Maybe Lutt goes on some blitzes there and get the linebackers in there, and don't let Lindsey beat you. He's put a couple throws in the bucket that you're just like, holy cow, like that kid, in 7 games all of a sudden has turned into a guy that they were really optimistic about, into a guy that, he is dangerous. He's a heck of a player, and, it feels like he becomes the cornerstone of that team for a while now. So make sure he doesn't beat you.
One of the difference, too, between like Nebraska and Iowa is that Nebraska's offensive line and defensive line aren't as strong as they have been in the past. So I wonder if that's just a whole different ball game when Minnesota comes to Iowa, where the lines are the strength, and Iowa's going to, kind of take it to them on that front.
Thoughts, Owen?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. We'll move on then. Well, Owen had a lot to ask Caden Weegan, or he's our Hawkeye highlight coming up this week, again, a guy we've heard from a lot, but maybe not the most time we've got with him. He's got a personal stake in this game, so to speak, because his girlfriend has a brother who plays for the Gophers. They were roommates together at Iowa Western. He's the pride of Tipton. Frank Bierman is a Gophers tight end. Doesn't have a ton of stats, but he's been there for a couple of years now. You won't hear about that in the Hawkeye highlight because that was 5-6 minutes of the conversation, I think, yesterday with Caden. But some interesting insights into a guy who does it all. What does he like the most? What does he learn from Cooper DeJean as a returner? Remember, he's the guy who had to plug in for Cooper when he went out against Illinois, had that 16-yard return against the Illini that kind of sparked that go-ahead one. And then again, asking him about the last time he had a game-winning score or a late score to maybe put his team out front with not a lot of time left. Sounds like that hasn't happened before, but here's our Hawkeye highlight this week with Caden Weegan.
I think punt return is probably my favorite.
Yeah?
And I'd say kick return is difficult. And then, I mean, the receiver and running back pieces have been coming together. And, I mean, when you have great blockers like I do, it's pretty easy to score in certain scenarios. I mean, you guys saw that last week with the jet sweep. So it's, I mean, I enjoy all of it, and hopefully it all keeps coming.
What is it about, like, punt return that you enjoy? Why is kick return the most difficult?
I just feel like it's punt return, it's kind of a big turning point in the game most of the time. And, I mean, field position is huge in every game. And I feel like every week I know our unit. I'm super confident with everybody in our unit, and I know that if they allow me to get time to get the ball, that we can get good field position to score on offense.
Do you feel like you've picked up on something, or have you, like, picked his brain about return stuff?
Yeah, we always watched return film together, so we knew we were kind of two similar but different returners at the same time. And, I mean, we talked to each other and tried helping each other out in certain aspects, and, I mean, it's helped both of us in the long run. So,
is there something specifically you feel like you learned from him in his time here?
I wouldn't say there's anything specific because, I mean, he helped me with multiple things. I mean, even in the receiver room, kind of going up against them. And I was on scout team the first year, so going up against them, talking to the DBs, him, Riley Moss, whatnot, they were kind of all helping me out. And, I mean, yeah, returner-wise, I mean, like I said, we all had different qualities, and he's kind of helping me out. And, I mean, even just watching him, I mean, some of the touchdowns he had there, just learning how to kind of read blocks or whatnot. But, yeah, I'd say there's more than just one thing.
When's the last time you had like a game-winning touchdown or late go-ahead touchdown? Because I don't know, back in Berg or something like that maybe?
Gosh. That's a good question, dude.
I feel like there were a lot of blowouts in Williamsburg too.
Yeah,
so.
I don't, like, nothing was really final minutes, I don't feel like.
So what's that moment like then, Saturday?
It was pretty special, especially against Penn State too, a team that, I mean, the last time I played it was 31-0 at their place, so it's pretty cool to get that against them. And, I mean, any opponent getting the game-winning touchdown is pretty cool, but, I mean, I really didn't have to do much. Mark got us all the way down there, and then the blockers did their job, so just credit goes out to them, man.
Did you see Jennings approaching to pick you up, or was that a blind side?
I was like, dude, what the heck? I just got grabbed like a rag doll, just lifted up in the air. I was like, okay. I figured it was him because, I mean, I got lifted about 10 feet in the air. But, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Pretty cool moment for the Wizard of Williamsburg, Caden Weegan. You know, we've talked about as versatile as he is. He's now on the Jet midseason list. You got to think he is the front runner to go back-to-back. And, boy, a chance to be an All-American as well. Just, again, anything and everything. You put the ball in his hands. We've seen his role grow in the offense. Caden Weegan's still got a bright future these next 5 games and whatever comes next.
Yeah, and we had a chance to talk to him. He mentioned that this is going to be his last year at Iowa. There were some questions about, like, his eligibility just with, like, coming from a JUCO, how that new rule was going to play in. But he did confirm to us yesterday that this is his final season. So we're hoping back-to-back Jet Award winner. No chance to go three-peat on the Jet Award for Caden Weegan, but this is going to be his final go-round.
Good off-season topic. Who's going to be the kick returner next year, right? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
We can talk about it in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get through this week, man. And a good plug for your conversation with Cooper DeJean after the Vikings game on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. Going to be putting together a little piece on that, but Cooper DeJean had a chance to chat with him, and so that was kind of why I was asking Weegan about that, was to hopefully weave that in there, but go to the YouTube page and check out what's going on with Cooper DeJean right now.
Nice little PBU against your boy Justin Jefferson, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on who you talk to about whether or not that was a PBU or if it was a catch. Or there's a lot of jargon on the internet about what happened there. I'm just happy to see either of them, whether it's JJ scoring or
Back to Caden. Was that graphic right? Did it say 113 offensive yards? Man, I would have thought it was more.
Yeah.
Through 7 games, dang. Because they're trying more, I guess, more in the recent weeks to give him the ball more, put him at running back.
Like he's got 80 receiving yards and like 30 rushing yards, something like that.
He has a lot of like 10-yard chunk plays, it seems like.
I think it's something like that. But then he's also had like 2-yard runs and like short catches and things like
catch behind the line again. For negative yards too.
Yep, there you go.
That makes sense.
That's how that works. But things are still working out for Caden Weegan, it feels like. So I think everything's going to be okay. Should be great weather out at Kinnick Stadium to return a punt or run a jet sweep or whatever it may be. Rebecca Copeland breaking down the Floyd of Rosedale forecast for Saturday.
Hey there, guys. We've definitely settled into some fall football weather, and it's going to stay with us heading into this weekend. And for the game, for the Battle of Floyd of Rosedale, we are going to have some mostly cloudy skies initially. For tailgaters, it's going to be cool in the morning. Temperatures are going to be in the 50s, and especially under the clouds. Seems like by the time the game kicks off that we get some clearing out there. We'll have partly cloudy skies. Could have kind of that mix of sun and clouds going on. Still chilly, still that football weather, and temperatures are hanging out in the low 60s through the day with a light south wind, so shouldn't be much that gets in your way, and should be a good one out there at Kinnick. And make sure that you have some layers handy as the temperatures change and just stay chilly through the day.
You can tell Rebecca's Florida roots are still strong because chilly on the graphic when it's low 60s, I think, after the last couple of days. And of all these night games, I think folks will take sunshine and low 60s for your kickoff. Should be a great time out there, and finally, I love a good night game, and what an atmosphere it was Saturday. But just for our purposes, it's nice to leave Kinnick when the sun's still up.
Be able to get your stories into the late shows.
There you go.
That's important as well.
It's about making slot.
Tailgating's better too if you're a tailgater. 11's too early. 7's almost like a little too much time. I better start late, or I'm not going to make it. But 2:30 is like that.
Save me from myself. Yeah. All right, well, let's turn to our picks this week. There's some wild spreads here, but I think these are very interesting games. We're going to start with the big noon game on Fox, 11 a.m. kick on Fox 28. UCLA, who's been playing out of their minds lately since moving on from Deshaun Foster. They are at number 2 Indiana. Hoosiers are favored by 25.5. But can these new-look Bruins, Nico Iamaleava and company, roll in and maybe not even just keep this thing close? We've seen what they've done as 20-point underdogs before against Penn State. Granted, that one was at home. Now they're in Bloomington.
I feel like it's worked out well for me recently, picking the team to cover the big spread. UCLA just looked abysmal the first 4 weeks and have, outside even that Penn State game now, and have won 3 in a row against Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland. Other good teams, not the elite teams in the Big Ten, those last two, but still really good potential bowl caliber teams this year. So I think that they could keep it closer than 25.5 points.
Okay, UCLA plus 25. I wanted to take the spread just because I've had so much bad luck with the spread over the times. But Indiana's just a different beast. They're at home. They put, 63 on Illinois. And they've got something to prove. Just from last year, I feel like Kirk Cignettis feels disrespected with all the talk that led up to their playoff appearance. I think they're going to want to put a little extra juice on this one. And are the teams that UCLA has beaten actually good? Penn State's 0-4 in the conference. Maryland's lost a couple games in a row. Michigan State, I think, might be bottom 4.
Yeah.
They might be.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to be preseason. But, who knows this at this point. Sure. I'm going to take Indiana cover.
This is such a weird spread, too. 25.5. Usually it's a 24.5 or 21.5. 25 is a little different. I've been going back and forth on this. I do think UCLA is such a vastly different team than they were a month ago, but it is Indiana at home. I think they win by 4 scores, so I'll take Indiana to cover. But
you don't just walk into
Memorial Stadium,
is it?
Boy, of course. You started that sentence and didn't know.
I was waiting for it.
You don't just walk into proper noun stadium.
I was going to see if you guys knew what, but good job, Mike.
So Illinois and Indiana. I know the basketball arenas are named like corporate sponsor now, but at one point they were both Memorial Stadium and they were both Assembly Hall. That's how I remember.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't Nebraska? Don't they play it?
Yeah.
Memorial
so does
Stadium?
Oklahoma.
Okay.
There's a lot of Memorial Stadiums out there. If there's one coach that's going to pile it on, though, I feel like it's going to be Indiana, right?
Sig does love to pile it on.
Yeah, we'll see.
Style points.
Yeah, things got out of hand against Illinois a few weeks back there. Northwestern at Nebraska. The Huskers coming off that road loss to Minnesota. They get the extra day's rest after playing Friday night. 7.5-point favorites. 11 a.m. kick on FS1 against another 5-2, 3-1 team in the Wildcats going into Lincoln.
3-1 in the Big Ten for Northwestern, on the cusp of bowl eligibility right now. Another win over Penn State. Another team that's beaten Penn State recently has kind of been coming on late. I think that I want to let Mike make the decision first before I really get
I'll go.
So go ahead, Mike.
I really thought Northwestern would be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten coming into the season. They've surprised me so far. They've rushed for like 200 yards in like 4 games, and in a 5th game they ran for 199. I don't know if they win this game, but I'll take the points. You know, Nebraska hasn't, since they've joined the Big Ten, they thought they were going to roll over the Minnesotas, the Northwesterns, even the Iowas, and they really haven't done it. So I'll take Northwestern in the points.
Nebraska's coming off coming off a loss to Minnesota, but before that, wins over those same teams we were just kind of talking about, Maryland and Michigan State. A loss to Michigan. Still maybe a little up in the air on if this Nebraska team is elite in the Big Ten. I think I like them to cover this spread.
Northwestern is a good football team. They lost their opener to Tulane, which was one of the sexy picks in the preseason to be the Group of 5 team to make the playoff. Their only other loss there, their lone Big Ten loss, is Oregon, a team that they rushed for 200 yards against. This is a good team. I don't know if they win in Lincoln, but I do think they cover. I wouldn't be shocked if they go in and win too. Northwestern is not a bad team. David Braun doing David Braun things yet again in Evanston.
Maybe I'm doing a reverse fan tax here thing. I hate Nebraska so much I don't want to pick them, but here we go.
Wisconsin, back-to-back shutouts. The bad kind for them. They now go to Autzen to take on number 6 Oregon. The Ducks are 33.5-point favorites. You keep it tuned on FS1 after that Nebraska-Northwestern game. 6 p.m. kick there.
Another one that's got an enormous spread, but this one I'm buying into. I just don't see any way Wisconsin. I mean, could they get shut out 3 weeks in a row? They honestly might. I think I like Oregon to win this one. I mean, they could win it by 49, 50 points.
I think so too, and I'm begging for a shutout just because then they might go like nearly a month without scoring because they got a bye week after Oregon. Then they play Washington, so I mean they might score at home against Washington. Give me the Ducks. This is insane that the spread is this high, but I'll take it.
You feel for the players on that roster. Just you commit as.
Just kidding.
Man,
Mike, do you
imagine being a kid like growing up in Wisconsin. You dream of being a Badger. You see these great teams, and you go there, and you just end up in an era that there's just so much struggle. You can't keep a quarterback healthy. Like that's just if you grow up in and around Madison, it's tough. I'm going to take Oregon to cover, and this. I know Fickle got a vote of confidence, but man, it's rough there, and it gets rougher it seems by the day. So you hope that there's some sort of light for them that they can find something to be happy about in Madison. I guess hockey season's starting, basketball season's starting. There's good stuff there.
Look, this Wisconsin fan base, and I do feel for the players a little bit. They've been spoiled with football and basketball. Every year they're good at basketball, no matter what it seems. But here's your silver lining. Hopefully they just beat the Gophers at the end of the year, right? I'll live with that.
Again, and talk about like getting spoiled. Wisconsin dominated that rivalry for so many years. We just had the 20th anniversary of the Bush Push, USC Notre Dame. That same day, the game before the 11 o'clock game was Wisconsin, Minnesota at the Metrodome.
Was that the one when he jumped over and grabbed the axe?
No, that's when they won. That's when Reese Lloyd hit a walk-off kick. That was a good memory. Reese Lloyd, who was picked up basically from like a student newspaper ad of like, we need a kicker. Turned out he was the kicker and punter. Reese Lloyd from London, I believe, somewhere in England. But that game was Minnesota's punter at the time, which was not Reese Lloyd, I believe, fumbled the snap in the end zone. Wisconsin recovered it for a touchdown, and that's what lost them the game. It was a wild, wild game. That's how Minnesota was losing those games forever. And now, since Fleck's been there, I think they're like 500. So the axe has been going to Minneapolis quite a bit. So, yeah, we'll see if the Gophers can keep that trophy in their case. But the hope is to keep Floyd in Iowa City for another year. Minnesota at Iowa. The Hawks are an 8.5-point home favorite over the Golden Gophers. And you get to watch that game at 2:40 over on CBS 2. Does Floyd stay at home in Iowa?
The line's been moving a lot. Just yesterday, wasn't this at about 10.5?
David Eichholt was talking while we were up in the press box at Kinnick working on post-interview stuff that it was up to 10. I forget where he said that was, but opened at, I believe, 7. It's up to 8.5. And, yeah, as been a little all over the place. Very interesting to see. So it's a moving target, so to speak.
It would have been a little safe for me to pick the game when it was still 10.5. I don't think that this is going to be a 10.5 point type of game. 8.5 makes it a little bit more interesting. I do kind of like this Minnesota team to keep it a little closer than that. I'm going to take Minnesota to keep it within 7, maybe.
I'm going to do that too. I'll take Minnesota with the points. I just think this is going to be a grinded out game, but I could see a scenario. I see like two scenarios. One, it's a close game either way, and then the other is like what happened last year, where Iowa rushes for like 200 yards and it kind of gets out of hand. But on FanDuel, it was still 8.5. I wonder what app David was looking at.
It genuinely could. I could see this turning into the Wisconsin game last year. I mean, I could really see it going both ways, where Minnesota comes in and wins, and I could see them getting beat by 40.
I really like that the Doughboys have a little more momentum. That secondary is just playing so well right now. Maybe an opportunity to get a couple picks on Lindsey, even though, again, Minnesota's offense has been really good at protecting the football. And the rushing attack is just working so well right now for Iowa, whether it's Gronowski. I think Kamari could have a big game. Again, if Jazz is back, it'd be great to see Jazz and Xavier really team up. And, you could have 4 guys that run for 50 yards in this game. So I'm going to take Iowa to cover. I do think this is a bit of a statement game for Iowa after a close win over Penn State, who is, again, that's the best 3 and 4 team in football. You got to feel like, just from a talent level of what they have on that roster. But I think this is one that Minnesota or Iowa can say, we get to go to the bye 6-2. We've already clinched bowl eligibility, and you get to go in November, where Iowa's been so good the last few years. You got a big November stacked up against you. You can carry a lot of momentum into that bye. Get Gronowski healthy, really make a statement about a chance to make a run at something special going in.
Yeah, you do hope that the reminiscence of 2 years ago isn't too much on this game, because it was 2 years ago that loss to Minnesota was also going into a bye week. It was the gold-out game. This one's a blackout game. Hopefully kind of turn the tables there, I guess. But that bye week momentum is so important and seems to always weigh so heavily, where it's like you really do want to go in with some good vibes in the locker room, and so much can get carried over into what is happening in November. If you win this game, your CFP hopes are still on the table. If you don't, you're still playing for a bowl game, but CFP is pretty much out of the question.
Yeah, and the bye week will be important too, because Mark, not 100%, but that extra week of not getting hit, not having to, exert that knee will be really helpful going into that Oregon game.
And an extra week to get ready for that Oregon game, because the Ducks, no matter what happens, if they shut out Wisconsin or not, that is a great team. You're defending Big Ten champs coming in. And
they also have a bye before the game.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky us. There you go. And Dan Lanning making his return for the first time since 2011 to Iowa City. Was a GA for Pitt. And Kenneth Merriweather's old quarterback from high school, Dante Moore, a couple Detroit King grads will be reuniting at Kinnick, so some fun storylines there to watch in a couple weeks. But, of course, we got to get through the battle for the Floyd of Rosedale yet again. Again, that game is 2:40 on CBS 2, so watch that, and then come back here Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, and we'll recap everything for you on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, where you can watch anything and everything we've got. You've got Cooper DeJean's interview with Owen up there right now on the YouTube channel. You also have all our Tuesday interviews from players, Mark Gronowski, Logan Jones. Who else was there? Xavier Wampa, TJ Hall, Caden Weege, everybody you heard from there. So you've got plenty to catch up on along with this episode. And anything else you want to check out there, we've got some highlight reels from Saturday's win over Penn State as well. Final thoughts before we wrap it up on a Wednesday?
Yeah, just kind of doubling back on what I was just saying, that this game does feel like the one where the rest of the season kind of hinges on it in a way, where if you win, it's going to go one way. If you lose, it is going to go another way. Obviously, every game is that way. The Oregon one is going to dictate a lot of what their postseason hopes are, but Minnesota, certainly one you don't want to overlook going into the bye week.
And one thing I do hope your prediction is right, Mitch, that Iowa covers. I just want to know, I want a game where it's like not super stressful like last Saturday was when I was watching from home.
Oh,
so let's root for that. I just think it will be close, rivalry game. Sometimes you got to throw stuff out, and
they
it's
have been quite a bit. I mean, Minnesota came out lightning fast last year and led that game early, and then things worked out. But hey, it's a rivalry game, and it's an old adage, because it keeps proving true, is that you really have to throw out records, and anything can happen with those. Well, thanks to everybody for tuning in, for watching, or however you may have consumed Eye on the Hawks this Wednesday. Big thanks to Erica, as always, for holding down the fort and holding down the director duties. For Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch.
Real quick, one more thing.
Oh,
do you want some Floyd of Rosedale facts?
Do I?
Do you know how much it weighs? He weighs.
It's like 78 pounds.
Oh, that's an interesting and very precise guess.
98.
79.
98.
Do you know
Did
where
go Price is Right on me? How dare you?
Do you know where Floyd of Rosedale is from?
Fort Dodge.
Oh, is it from Fort Dodge?
He's from near Fort Dodge, Rosedale Farms, near my hometown of Fort Dodge, Iowa. Yeah, Iowa lost that game, so they had to provide the hog.
Yeah. And there's always the Floyd, Iowa water tower on the driveway.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's always a nice halfway point.
There is a statue in Fort Dodge by the Rosedale Rapids, which is a new aquatic park they put in about 10 years ago. They put the statue up 5 or 6 years ago. Just a big Floyd thing outside of a water park.
Yeah. If you ever go to the state softball tournament, you're going to drive by that Floyd trophy 100% of the time.
Last one. The real Floyd's brother was the star in Blue Boy from Will Rogers' movie State Fair in 1933.
Yo, you don't got to tell me about Will Rogers and State Fair.
I'm so glad we didn't wrap the show yet. I also
movie star.
There was back when they played in the Metrodome. I still have. Again, I was raised a Minnesota fan. My dad's from Northeast Iowa and has family in Minneapolis. They had handouts at the Metrodome for one of the games of it was like a foam finger type thing, but it was just basically a handle with a Floyd on top, and it said Floyd's at home in the dome. And we thought that was very clever as children who like rhymes.
I don't know.
That is clever.
I don't know if this is a portent of things to come, but I was in Minneapolis this last weekend. Had to go up. That's the reason I wasn't there on Saturday for the game. Those regional Emmys weren't going to lose themselves. Had to have Sebring on the beat. But in Minneapolis, literally the highlight of my year might be seeing a albino squirrel out in the wild. That was maybe the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Why didn't we lead with that today?
Yeah.
Is that the good luck charm that Minnesota needs coming into this one? We'll see.
I don't know.
Are there any albino squirrels in Iowa City? Don't think so.
Possibly. I don't know.
There could be.
What color were the squirrels on the? We're so off track now. We started with a tangent from KF. Now we're doing our own tangents. What were the color? The squirrels on the UNI campus. I remember them either they were incredibly brave. They would come right up to humans because they're just so used to them. But I feel like maybe they were different color squirrels up there.
I thought that they were just your standard fox squirrels.
Okay, maybe.
But there could be some gray squirrels around there.
Tell me about the squirrels on campus 20 years ago. Do you remember them?
I learned a lot about squirrels in a couple of different ways. Number one, this weekend I was looking up the average lifespan of a squirrel just to see, because I was with my girlfriend's brother, and he was like, yeah, that squirrel's been around for at least a couple of years. I'm like, do squirrels live a couple of years? I had no idea, but they can live up to 20 years in captivity if you have a squirrel in captivity.
I'm just picturing you at a table at Mystic Lake Casino at the end. He's just Googling squirrel facts. Sports. No, I didn't get it. Okay, yeah.
Not too far from the truth.
That's nuts.
Okay. Well done.
That's
on
our
both
show.
My sides.
Thanks for watching.
I did also do a feature for UNI TV, the student-run broadcast on the squirrels around UNI's campus, and so I had a chance to learn about the different facts about the folks and did some man-on-the-street interviews with. You went to UNI, you've got a squirrel story.
I already don't like man-on-the-street interviews.
But what if squirrels are involved? Now we got something.
Oh, I've got opinions on squirrels. All right, for the three of you that stayed around to the end of the show, we really appreciate it. Again, thank you to Erica, and for Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch. We'll see you next time on a squirrel-free Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.